Hello, we are continuing today in our daily devotions in John chapter 2. So I'm just going to dive straight in and read to you from John chapter 2, verses 14 through to 21. Jesus in the temple courts found men selling cattle, sheep, and doves, and others sitting at the tables exchanging money. So he made a whip out of cords and drove all from the temple area, both sheep and cattle. He scattered the coins of the money changers and he overturned the tables. To those who sold doves, he said, "Get these out of here. How dare you turn my father's house into a market?" His disciples remembered that it is written, "Zeal for your house will consume me." Then the Jews demanded of him, "What miraculous sign can you show us to prove your authority to do all this?" Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days." The Jews replied, "It's taken 46 years to build this temple, and you're going to raise it again in 3 days?" But the temple he had spoken of was his body. So one of the things I do as part of my job is regularly on a Wednesday I go into a high school and I offer mentoring to students there about a whole variety of issues. But one of the things that they're often referred in to see me for is anger management. That lots of young people find it really difficult to process their emotions, and it might be that the student has been sent out of lots of lessons for kicking off and swearing at a teacher or for punching someone who's upset them at lunchtime, and they'll ask, could I do a bit of work with that student around how to better control and process their emotions and stop them from kind of losing it and reacting in that sort of way. But when we're looking here at Jesus' angry response, this isn't an uncontrolled rage. Actually, this is a measured, righteous response to a situation of injustice. Jesus doesn't lose it. Jesus is fully within his mind in the way that he responds in this situation. So just to give a little bit of backdrop to what's going on, we're at the annual Passover celebration where people travel from all over to come to the temple in Jerusalem. Every adult Jewish male is supposed to be in attendance, and people are making the journey from all over the place. Thousands of out-of-town visitors would come and flock into the temple. And what's happened is that the religious authorities have seen this as an opportunity to raise money for temple funds, and they've put salespeople, money changers and merchants into the outer court, the court of the Gentiles, for the non-Jewish visitors to the temple. But as you can imagine, if you were in Norwich Marketplace or some other buzzing market hub of activity and you're hearing all the salespeople there are shouting, come and get this from our stall, or roll up at their stall. Actually, this is causing a hubbub of activity that is making it incredibly distracting for people to do the very thing that they've entered the temple for, which is to worship. So number one, it's proving a massive distraction. Secondly, there is a temple tax which has to be paid. And this needed to be done in local currency. So obviously those foreigners from outside have to get their money exchanged into the local currency, but are being ripped off with huge inflation rates when they do so. The people were also required to make sacrifices for sin, but because they're coming such a long distance, again, they're not going to bring their own animals. They're having to buy animals, birds to sacrifice on arrival. And again, these are being sold at hugely inflated prices. You guys know what it's like when you go to a theme park or when you go to a cinema and all of a sudden the bargain deal for £6 is some popcorn and some Coke. Because that's the bargain once you're in there, whereas you could get it far cheaper before you enter the cinema or the theme park. That's what it's like here. The temple are ripping people off big time. People are paying well over the odds for the goods. And so Jesus, understandably, is angered by this. Jesus has a passion for God's house, and it's being treated like a den of robbers. And so he responds in the right way. He says, this isn't on, get out. Those of you who are making a mockery of this place where people are coming to worship. Now, when we think about what are the things actually that are right to be angry about, and I'm not talking about the someone who's nicked the last biscuit, or people keep leaving dirty coffee mugs. I know those things are irritating, but when we start thinking about what is it righteous to be angry about, what are the things that breaks God's heart, that drives him to anger, and it should drive us to a righteous anger. We might think about the last year and the Black Lives Matter protest, people rising up in anger about systematic racism that they're seeing in society. It might be human trafficking, the millions of people who are still bought and sold as commodities, who are children, precious children of God. It might be the current nature of the vaccine rollouts. Actually, the rich nations in the world have 3 times over the amount of vaccines to fully vaccinate their entire population, and yet poorer nations are struggling to get 1 in 10 people vaccinated. It might be the complete injustice in that situation that drives us to righteous anger. And also thinking about what are the barriers that are preventing people coming to worship. When we think about church, are there things there that actually we're putting in place that are making it hard for people to feel welcome in the house of God? And we look at the religious leaders and their response. They just don't get why Jesus has responded in that way. They want to know, and they're questioning his authority, and he completely baffles them with his response that they knock down a temple and he will rebuild it in 3 days. And they say, well, it's taken 46 years, and that's just the renovations. It was built over 500 years previously. So they're completely mystified what Jesus is talking about. But obviously, he's speaking about his own body, his temple, and dying and coming back to life again, which he has done for all of us. So today, let's just draw close to Jesus and ask him, what are the things that are on his heart? What does he want us to get angry about? And what are the barriers that we can help remove in order that people can truly come and worship the living God? Have a great day. Thanks, Lighthouse.